Kingdom Hearts and Pokemon is an idea I've had for years, and finally I'm actually making something of it. I made a video previously about making Demyx a Pokemon trainer in the evil team Organisation XIII, and so now the next logical step is to go to Xaldin. In Kingdom Hearts 2, you fight him pretty soon after you fight Demyx. I think you can actually go straight to him after the events of Hollow Bastion basically, so he makes the most sense to do next. There will be exceptions to this rule, especially given there are like 5 or so members to deal with on the side before we get to the big kahuna, but for now this is how the ordering will work. I gave a little description of where Demyx would be fought in the story of this made up Pokemon game, just to give a little context to the whole thing, and I'll be doing that going forward, hopefully with some more detail. Xaldin, like in Kingdom Hearts 2, would be found in the area of Beast's Castle, and I guess I should go over how the Disney Worlds would work, since this actually concerns it, but basically I imagine the Disney Worlds to only really be a setting for the story, and not actually have anything to do with the Disney movies themselves. So even though the area is called Beast Castle, there is no beast or bell to speak of. After the 1000 Pokemon battle in Hollow Bastion, you would make your way back to Beast's Castle, following a trail left by a mysterious ally. The castle would be crowded with super strong Pokemon, needing to be defeated before gaining access to the rest of the castle again. You would have cleared this area earlier in the game. Most of these Pokemon would be fairly standard, around 400 to 450 base stat total, but when fought they would get an Omni boost and have doubled HP, empowered by Darkness! You tread through the main entrance, seeing the ballroom is blocked off by a mysterious seal. Clear the right and left wings of Pokemon before finally Xaldin notices your presence. Not quite liking you interfering with his business here, he sends the most powerful Pokemon here after you. After seeming to have cleared the entire castle of Pokemon, you begin to make your way back to the main entrance, where a commotion can be heard from the ballroom. Upon entering, you find a Shaman Skyform, only instead of a Gracidia flower on its neck, it's a rose. This Shaman would have boosts to its defense and special defense with doubled HP. With Shaman down, the door to the castle slams shut. Of course, you follow the noise and spot a figure walking away with a glowing flower. Chasing the figure out to the bridge, the exit to this area, this is the last straw. Xaldin finally reveals himself and, believing you to be too much of a threat, having beaten even the strongest Pokemon in this area, decides to take you out himself. The arena mechanic this go around is named Wind Guard Me, based on an attack that Xaldin has in the games, where he would put up a shield of wind, and if you were to make contact with it, you'd take damage and be thrown away. Much like that, it would put up a shield of wind whenever one of Xaldin's Pokemon is hit by a super effective move. This shield would remain in place until the next time one of his Pokemon is hit with a super effective move, and when that happens, the damage is reduced as if it were a neutral hit. However, it's still classed as a super effective move. More on that later. Additionally, if contact moves are used while the shield is up, your Pokemon will take 1/10 of its HP and damage. He begins the fight with an Aerodactyl at level 52 with the ability Rockhead, and holding a metronome. The Aerodactyl would come packing Stealth Rock to set up entry hazards so you can't switch constantly, Dragonclaw for some coverage against dragon types, Brave Bird, a very strong flying stab move taking no recoil damage thanks to his ability, and Head Smash, basically a stronger rock Brave Bird. Now Aerodactyl apparently doesn't actually learn Brave Bird or Head Smash, but I've decided to give it to him because I really can't find any way he benefits from having Rockhead, other than maybe Double Edge, I guess, and his other two abilities aren't fantastic. This Aerodactyl is mainly meant for setting rocks and to set up his other Pokemon with his arena mechanic. Next up in the roster is Gyarados at level 52 with the Moxie ability and holding a Wakan Berry, running Waterfall, Earthquake for coverage against electric types, Stone Edge, and Outrage. Waterfall is a great stab water move for Gyarados, and after a Moxie boost, not a lot of Pokemon are going to take that hit well, with Stone Edge for use against bug and flying types, and Outrage as a strong hitting move against dragon types. I didn't want to give him Dragon Dance because that would be boring and probably a bit overpowered with his arena mechanic. With Gyarados down, Gliscor is sent out next at level 53 with the Hypercutter ability and holding a Flying Gem. You might be able to guess what the first of its attacks are, and it is indeed Acrobatics. With a regular base power of 55, if the user has no hold item, that damage is doubled, and combined with the Flying Gem boosting the first flying type move you use and being consumed upon activation, yeah, that's a bit of damage. Its other moves consist of the always classic Earthquake, with Stone Edge for coverage against ice types, and Swords Dance to capitalize on any switching you do or a windshield it might have up. Second to last, we have Kingdra at level 54 with the Sniper ability and holding a Scope Lens. Kingdra is a major threat on any team, and this Kingdra is no different. Running Focus Energy, which with its held Scope Lens, guarantees a critical hit every time, and with its ability Sniper, critical hits are empowered to do even more damage, dealing 2.25 times the normal damage rather than the usual 1.5 times. Combined with Flash Cannon to cover one of its two weaknesses, Draco Meteor for an incredibly strong attack. Using this move lowers Kingdra's special attack by 2 stages, however if it is always critting with Focus Energy, the special attack drops are ignored. Lastly, it will have Flip Turn, A good move for momentum in a battle, easily being able to switch out to a better Pokemon in an unfavorable matchup while doing some damage. Finally, his ace in Corviknight, with the Mirror Armor ability, reflecting back all negative stat changes that are targeted at Corviknight, and a weakness policy for its item, boosting its attack and special attack by 2 stages when taking a super effective hit. Running Power Trip, a move that starts at 20 base power, increasing in power by 20 for each of the user's stats that have been boosted, leaving it at 100 base power after weakness policy activates. Brave Bird for a strong stab move along with Iron Head, and finally Bulk Up, raising its already high defense while giving it an attack boost and a way to boost Power Trip if the weakness policy is not procced. With his defeat, he would fall to the ground and disappear in a storm of wind and darkness, dropping the glowing flower. But before you can pick it up, another figure dressed in the organization's coat would swoop in and take it for themselves. With no other choice, you leave Beast's Castle looking for some leads on what the organization plans to do next. Hope you enjoyed the video there. I tried to include a bit more story before the encounter with the Orc member this time. Let me know if you enjoy the added background or just want me to get to the fight with some keynotes as to why it's happening sort of thing in the future. I'm sort of planning on making videos way down the line about what specifically would happen in these Disney World areas, including what Pokemon you'd fight, what moves they have, and all that, which is why I'm not going hugely into detail with these ones. So, Xaldin. I had a few ideas for what kind of Pokemon to give him. Naturally we started with the flying type, given he's a wind user in the games. I didn't plan on giving him a mono flying team, but I nearly did that again with the choices I made. I thought Aerodactyl suited, being a somewhat similar looking Pokemon to the gargoyle statues around Beast's Castle and has a dragon-y quality about him. And the flying dragon types were mainly what I was going for. I gave Aerodactyl Dragon Claw and Gyarados Outrage to have some more dragony stuff in there. Given the shape of his lances in the game, I felt that was pretty important to include. But I also felt like just giving him a Salamence, Dragonite, and all the OP dragons would be kind of boring. I did also consider Braviary, just a strong flying type, and probably would have made the cut if not for the fact he would have a mono flying team if I included him. And Kingdra actually suits him a lot more than Braviary in my opinion, while running with the theme of dragons. Obviously I considered Salamence pretty early on, but dropped it just as quick. I'm saving him for another member, and I don't want to have too many repeats of a Pokemon. Scizor was also another top contender. I think Steel types were also part of the theming, and yeah, I don't know, just got a good vibe from the fella. Finally, I was going to make Skarmory his ace and create a fan-made Mega Evolution, so Skarmory would be strong enough to be an ace basically, but scrapped it because like Game Freak with Flygon, I just couldn't think of anything cool enough. And I'd also need to hire an artist and all that, and especially when I then realized Corviknight suits him so much better anyway, so I figured there wasn't really much point. And that's basically it. Thank you very much if you've watched right up to the end and listened to me babble about stuff people probably don't care about, but I just like to explain my reasoning for things. Hope you liked the video. Please leave a like or a comment if you've got this far. I'd love to interact with anyone who isn't just spouting mindless hate. Even if you have criticisms of my choices, I'll happily talk it out with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.